Welcome to the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction's training module for the private school choice programs. We will refer to the private school choice programs as choice or choice program throughout this training. The choice program is governed by Wisconsin Statute 11923 and 11960, as well as Wisconsin Administrative Codes, Chapter PI 35 and 48. This training provides guidance with respect to how the agency is likely to apply the requirements in these statutes and rules. Provisions of this training module are subject to statutory and rule changes. This section of the training will describe how to complete Schedule 3A. This training will explain how to enter information into the Budget and Cash Flow Report Excel document. We will refer to the Budget and Cash Flow Report as the budget throughout this training. You must enter this information into your Excel document unless otherwise noted. Please pause the training if you need additional time to review the example or check your Excel document. As a reminder, to receive credit for having participated in this training, you will be required to upload the completed budget Excel document in the quiz you complete after all the trainings are done. The budget that is uploaded into the quiz must include all of the examples for Holy Love that are provided in each of the trainings. Completion of this training is required for all choice administrators of schools that are first-time participants in the choice program. All schools that participate in the choice programs must use the fiscal year from July 1st to June 30th. If the school does not currently use that fiscal year, it must change it before the start of the 26-27 school year. The information that is entered into Schedule 3A must be based on a fiscal year from July 1st to June 30th. If the school has not historically used a fiscal year from July 1st to June 30th, it must reach out to DPI in advance with submitting the budget and cash flow report in order to determine how Schedule 3A should be completed. If the school is using the surety bond option rather than the budget and cash flow report option, it does not need to reach out to DPI in advance of May 1st, but should be working to get the fiscal year updated for the school by July 1st. If the school has more than one trial balance, the total of all the trial balances for the legal entity of the school must be inserted into Schedule 3A. For example, if the school has one trial balance for the church and a different trial balance for the school, it must insert the total of the school and the church general ledger accounts into Schedule 3A if the church and school are part of the same legal entity. The total revenues and total expenses entered must also be the combined total revenue and total expenses from the school and church general ledger. The first question in Schedule 3A requires the school to indicate whether it is recording any accounts, expenses, or revenues outside of the general ledger. Some common examples that are maintained outside of the general ledger are identified on line 1. The first is food program amounts. If the school is recording its food revenues and expenses in separate accounts outside of the general ledger, it must provide a statement from July 1st through June 30th with the information on those expenses, revenues, and balances. The remaining examples are a parent-teacher organization, a ladies' guild, and cemetery funds. If the school is maintaining this financial information outside of the trial balance, it must provide an income statement and the account balance detail related to these amounts with the budget if the legal entity that operates them has the same federal tax ID number, FEIN, as the school, and include all of the amounts in Schedule 3A. For example, if the parent friends organization operates under the FEIN of the school, it must be included in Schedule 3A, and all information related to the parent teacher friends organization must be recorded in the budget. Similarly, if the school has a cemetery fund that is operated under the federal tax ID number of the school's legal entity, all revenues, expenses, and account balances must be provided as part of the required attachments, be included in Schedule 3A, and be included in the respective schedules in the budget and cash flow report. If the school determines that any amounts are part of the school's legal entity but not recorded in the general ledger, the school must revise its process and begin recording the revenues, expenses, and account balances in the school's general ledger. Amounts cannot be recorded outside of the general ledger. Here is a snapshot of the expense section of the Income Statement Review tab. In column B, you will enter your organization's general ledger account numbers. Column C will be your 24-25 account balances. Column D will automatically update when you enter expenses into the related schedules, such as Schedules 3-1 and 3-2. Column A identifies which schedule each balance is coming from. Column E will automatically calculate as the difference between the current budget, column D, and financial statement, column C. Column F will require an explanation if the difference in column E is greater than $5,000. Here is a partial section of the completed expense review. Line 2 is salaries. We entered the general ledger number of $600,100 in column B and $582,000 in column C, because that is the amount of salaries in general ledger number $600,100 and Holy Love's prior year income statement. The general ledger account numbers and 24-25 financial statement amounts should be entered in before entering in any information into your budget, because this will help you identify where each of the expenses and revenues should be included in your budget. For example, this tells us that telephone and internet access, which is in Holy Love's account number 600-300, should be entered in Schedule 3-2, line 1. Please take a moment to enter the general ledger account numbers in column B and the amounts in column C for lines 2 and 6 in your Holy Love budget. At this time, you will not have column D completed in your budget. However, once you complete the trainings on Schedule 3, you will see an amount in column D based on what was entered on Schedule 3-1 for the Holy Love example. Column E will be the difference between the current budget and prior year financial statement. In the example on this slide, the salaries expense is increasing by $30,000, so an explanation is needed in column F because the amount increased by more than $5,000. When it increases by more than $5,000, we are looking for an explanation of the full increase. In this example, the explanation entered in column F was hired one additional teacher aide for grades 3 and 4. The total of all expenses that are entered will be included on line 33, column C. In line 34, column C, the school must insert the total expenses from the 24-25 income statement, which is attachment 5 that must be submitted with the budget. Additionally, if the school has any amounts outside of the general ledger that are part of the school's legal entity, as we discussed earlier, they must be included on line 35. If the school does not have any expenses recorded outside of the general ledger, it should enter 0 on line 35. Line 36 will calculate as the difference between the total expenses on line 33 and the total of the expenses in the income statement on line 34, plus the amounts not in the income statement on line 35. The difference must be 0. If it is not, that means the school has expenses that it missed, including in lines 2 through 32, or it means that amounts are missing from lines 34 or line 35. If the school has historically included expenses that were not correctly included in the income statement, please reach out to the department in advance to determine how to reflect those on Schedule 3A. Here's a snapshot of the revenue section of the Income Statement Review tab. In column B, you will enter your organization's general ledger account numbers. Column C will be your 24-25 revenues. Column D will automatically update when you enter revenues into the related schedules, such as Schedule 4-1. Column A identifies which schedule each balance is coming from. Column E will automatically calculate as the difference between the current budget, column D, and the amount in the school's 24-25 financial statement, column C. Column F will require an explanation if the difference in column E is greater than $5,000. Please note that in the revenue section, some of the 24-25 financial statement amounts come from other schedules because certain revenue schedules include the prior year amounts in them. Column A will identify the schedule and line where the amount is coming from. You must directly update the prior year information in the reference schedule. For example, on lines 49 through 51, line 50, column C is yellow, That means you can directly update the 24-25 financial statement amount in that cell. Conversely, column C is white in lines 41 and 51. That means you must go to the lines that are referenced in column A to revise the 24-25 financial statement amounts in column C. Here's a partial section of the completed revenue review. Line 37 is tuition. We entered the general ledger number of $400, $100 in column B and $145,000 in column C because that is the amount of tuition in general ledger number $400, $100 in Holy Love's prior year income statement. The before and after school care line includes more than one general ledger account, so we included both accounts in line 39, column B. Please take a moment to enter the general ledger account numbers in column B and the amounts in column C for lines 37 through 40 in your Holy Love budget. At this time, you have not entered the budget revenues in, so column D will be 0. However, once you complete the budget, column D will update. Similar to the expenses, column E is the difference between the current budget and prior year financial statement. In this example, the before and after care fees are increasing by $6,000, so an explanation is needed in column F because the amount increased by more than $5,000. When it increases by more than $5,000, we are looking for an explanation of the full increase. In this example, the explanation entered in column F was before aftercare usage has increased. The total revenues in the school's 24-25 income statement must be entered on line 62. Then the revenues that are not included in an income statement must be recorded on line 63. If the school does not have any revenues recorded outside of the general ledger, it should enter 0 on line 63. After these amounts are entered, the school must review line 64, which is the variance between the total revenues entered on lines 37 through 60 and the total revenues on lines 62 and 63. The variance on line 64 should be 0. If this variance is not 0, you will need to go back and verify you entered the prior year revenues correctly. If the school has historically included revenues that were not correctly included in the income statement, please reach out to the department in advance to determine how to reflect those on Schedule 3A. The department has bulletins available to help schools understand programmatic requirements. The Financial Audit and PCP SNSP Reserve Balance Bulletin describes the financial audit and how the reserve balance schedule works. The PSCP Eligible Education Expenses Bulletin describes what expenses can be eligible for the Choice Program. There are also various bulletins available on the fiscal and internal control practices requirements and other program requirements. Additionally, the department has on-demand trainings available to help schools understand programmatic requirements. Schools are encouraged to review these trainings and bulletins throughout the year when there are questions on the choice requirements. Questions on this training, including questions on the budget and cash flow report, should be directed to DPI Choice Audit Reports at dpi.wi.gov rather than a specific auditor. This mailbox is monitored by all of the Choice Program auditors. If you have general Choice Program questions, they should be directed to the Choice Program consultants at privateschoolchoice@dpi.wi.gov.